Welcome back to the Pursuit of Utility podcast. Now, this is my favorite episode, and this is the Father's Day episode. Now, what I like to try to do is every Father's Day check in on, just how I'm doing, right? How I think I'm showing up, not just as a father, but also as a husband. But just generally speaking, a check in to see where I'm at. Right. And then I like to share it here, and then I can go back and I can listen to previous years. And I think it makes for a very interesting sample to be able to go back and see like, well, what were you thinking 2 years ago? What were you thinking in 2023 versus 2024 versus 2025? So today, what I want to really dive into is I keep seeing this theme. And maybe it's just in the social media vortex that I'm in right now, specifically about fatherhood. And what they talk about is this provide and protect, right? And I absolutely get that. Right? One, you obviously want to provide for your family, financially, etc., but you also want to protect them, right? You want to be in a position that in the event that something happens, you have the ability to protect them, physically. And a lot of what I see are provide and protect, and it's somebody who's maybe got an online business, maybe they're in real estate, maybe they're trading stocks, whatever. The financial side of it, the providing side of it is typically entrepreneurial. And then the protect side is almost always martial arts or guns, which I totally understand. There absolutely is a need for that. And depending on your situation, that need might be more or less common. I'm not discrediting those two things. But I do think that is really, that's just table stakes, right? I think that ultimately there are deeper layers when we're talking about providing, when you're talking about protecting. And what I wanted to do today was really just go through some of those. And I've got some notes on my phone, so if you see me look down, that's why, just to try to keep me on topic here and make sure that I hit all these points. But I really think that there's more to it than just providing and protecting at that superficial level. So what I want to do is break down a couple things that I feel like are almost maybe, items within that, right? When we're talking about providing, are we also talking about providing perspective? Right? That's the first thing that comes to mind. Are you helping them to zoom out? Right? Are you trying to help not just understand where they're coming from, but are you trying to help them understand where other people are coming from? Are you trying to help them understand that what might be happening in their life right now is just a very small experience compared to the entirety of their life, right? I know for Carter specifically, he's going into his sophomore year, and in high school, things might happen and it might seem like it's a bigger deal than maybe it actually is. And then time goes on and you realize that you can get past these things, that these things are maybe just roadblocks. So when we're talking about providing, are we providing perspective? Are we trying to help them understand where maybe the other person is coming from, right? How other people's situation is different than yours. How your approach to something, how you might see something is different than how your coach might see it. So how different coaches have different ways of communicating and trying to get to the message and not necessarily get hung up on the delivery. But providing perspective, I think, is very unique. One thing that I try to do with the boys is to provide perspective, especially when it comes to sports, because I played sports in high school. Right now, I wasn't fortunate enough or good enough to keep going after high school, but to be able to try to explain to them how short the window is for them to really dedicate themselves to a goal that they might have, regardless of how big it might seem or how unrealistic it might seem, that when you get to be my age, when you get to be a dad, when you get to be a grown-up, when you have a job, which Carter always says, and you look back at that time, how do you think about that time? And trying to help them understand that now, I think is very powerful. Now, if we jump over to the protect side, are we protecting them from victim mentality, which I think is incredibly easy and dangerous right now? I think you can jump online and see any number of different people complaining about any number of different things, and it's very easy to fall into that trap, right? A great example of this is Carter is in a boot right now. Well, no, he's actually in a cast right now. He's actually going to get his cast recast today. So last weekend, he was at a national tournament. His foot started hurting on Saturday. He only had 6 players on his team. He's a starter. He had to play a lot of minutes. His foot got worse on Sunday. He came down on a layup in the championship game, felt something move, went to the trainer. They thought it was a strain. Turns out there's a broken bone in the middle of his foot. Now, luckily, it is actually the best diagnosis we could have received. Some of the other things were really bad. So we're very thankful. We're very grateful for that. But this time last year, he tore 2 tendons in his ankle as going into his freshman year of high school. It would be very easy to get down on yourself and complain, and it's not fair, and why me, and why me, and why me, especially for him. 2 serious injuries, back-to-back years. We're about to go on vacation today. He's going to be in a cast. Very easy to fall into a trap. This is not fair. And it's not. But what does that have to do with anything? Who said things are going to be fair? No one. So really trying to focus on the mental aspect of this, right? You can recover, right? He was just telling me yesterday, man, I think when I come back from injuries, I come back better than I was before. That is fantastic. That is a great outlook. What I don't want to do is for him to sit back and woe is me, right? Same thing with Beckett. Beckett broke 3 fingers this year playing basketball. Both of his pinkies and his middle finger. He also hurt his hip. All of these things in 1 year. But as soon as he could, he taped up his fingers and he's playing. As soon as his hip was better, he's back out there and he's training. Never once was there a time where you could sit back and feel sorry for yourself. Are you going to be upset? Are you going to be bummed? Absolutely. But what can we do to make this situation as positive as we possibly can? What can we do to get back out there? Whatever it might be. It's a setback in school. It's a setback, physically. Carter was struggling in algebra, and he really, really put the work in. That kid went to tutoring every single day, it felt like. He went to tutoring after school. He went to tutoring between school and basketball practice. And he ended up not only passing the class, I think he got a B the last 9 weeks, but then he also got a 4 on the end of course exam, which is fantastic. But that's only because he put work in. He could have very easily blamed his previous school. I think he had 13 math teachers last year because they were just constantly cycling subs. So he absolutely could have just sat there and blamed his old school and his old teachers, and all those things are valid. But guess what? It doesn't help you pass algebra. So are we protecting them from a victim mentality? That, I think, is going to be more and more important as social media becomes more and more prevalent. Now, this next one, we're going back over to providing. Are you providing an opportunity for them to struggle? Now, this is hard. This is hard for any parent. Watching your kids struggle. That is absolutely necessary. I think back to Aiden doing his apprenticeship at the tattoo shop. Absolutely was hard. Very difficult time for him. Challenging emotionally, creatively. He had to do a lot of growing up really quickly because he was 18, 19 years old working in a tattoo shop full of professional tattoo artists, and that is hard. But we tried to provide space for him to be successful. We tried to be there to talk to him if he needed it. We tried to set up the situation so he could be successfll, but we did not save him. Right? Same thing with Carter. If he has questions about basketball, he has questions about his coach, we're gonna try to have him work it out. The greatest thing I think, is watching your kids make progress towards a goal. It's not them achieving the goal necessarily, because you can't control that, but you can watch them make progress. And if you can teach them that, if you can teach them how to work hard, if you can teach them how to do hard things, if you can teach them that it's okay to be bad and do it anyways, and then you're going to start making progress and making progress and making progress, and you look back and you see how far you've come. That is huge. Beckett just decided on Easter that he wanted to start playing baseball. Well, I have videos of his swing a couple weeks ago to today or yesterday, and the improvement is crazy. But man, does that kid get frustrated, right? I might throw him 5 pitches and he might miss every single one of them. But he's slowly getting better. He's staying back. He's keeping his hands back. Yesterday, he hit the ball all the way across the front yard, all the way to the basketball court. That's pretty far. I don't know how many feet that is, but it's got to be at least 150 feet with a wiffle ball and a wiffle ball bat. But what I didn't do was make it easy for him. As soon as we started playing catch, we went straight to a real baseball, and we're throwing. I'm throwing the ball right at him. There was no... I didn't abstract the areas where he would struggle, where he would fail. Did he get hit with the baseball? Once. And luckily, it just hit him in the leg. But he's throwing the ball back to me, he's throwing it by me. He's throwing it into the ground, right? But we just keep doing it. We just keep doing it. We just keep doing it. And he's gotten better, and he's gotten better in a very short period of time. But the situation was there for him to have to work through it, right? There was no easy button. There is no easy button. There is no shortcut, right? You've got to put the work in, regardless of what it might be. It might be algebra, it might be baseball, it might be basketball, but you've got to put the work in. How are you providing opportunities for them to struggle? Because ultimately, that's where they're going to find fulfillment, is on the other side of that struggle, when they start to realize some of these goals that they have. Now let's bounce back over to protecting their curiosity. I think this is a very interesting one, because it's very easy, especially nowadays with media, mainstream media and social media, for them to lose their sense of maybe wonder or imagination or their dreams, because they're just constantly being told this or that, or it's, a war, or it's, it's something to do with the president, or drama this, drama that. Anytime that they want to talk about maybe a dream that they had, or dad, wouldn't it be cool if this or if that? I mean, Beckett tells me all the time what he's going to do when he makes it to the NBA. And you know what I don't do is I don't try to tell him about the statistics behind what are the chances of him making it there, right? If he wants to talk about how me and him are going to live together in a house, and we're going to do this and we're going to do that, absolutely, I'm right there with you. We can talk about this all. What color car do you think we should have? Right? I don't want him to lose the sense of wonder, right? You don't need to become jaded at 11. Same thing with Carter. Carter, before this year, was very, I don't want to say uninterested, because that's not the right word, but when we would talk about him playing basketball in college, he was dismissive. And I didn't try to force the issue, right? I'm just like, hey, there's an opportunity here. If you keep working hard, wouldn't it be cool? And now he's starting to come around to it. Maybe that would be cool. Or maybe I could do this, because he's playing with better talent, and he's playing against better kids that are definitely going to college, and he's holding his own. Hey, you know what? Maybe I could do this. You want to talk about what college might be like, what it might be like to be a college basketball player and go to school and study real estate development or whatever it is that you want. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about how I'm going to drive around to all your games. Let's talk about how wouldn't it be cool if we could fly here or do this or do that. Let's talk about all of it. Let's come up with a plan. Let's believe in it, right? If it doesn't work out, that's fine. We don't need to worry about that right now. All we need to worry about is putting in the work. So absolutely, protecting their curiosity is huge. Aiden is so creative, and he will show me these drawings that he's doing for tattoos. And it does not matter what my opinion is of the 7-eyed mutant monster thing with claws. I don't even understand, like, in what universe this thing would live. Doesn't matter. What matters is, wow, that's really cool. What is this? That's cool, right? Tell me about how you did it. Because what I don't want to do is, well, I don't know if too many people are going to want that tattoo because I don't really understand. Nope, doesn't matter, right? Help them protect their curiosity because the whole world is trying to beat them down and trying to beat that out of them. So protect that. If we jump back over to provide, this is an interesting one. And I think it's one that it's very easy to lose sight of. But do your kids have access to you? Are you providing access to your kids? Now, you can provide for them financially and not provide for them emotionally. And I think that's a big miss on a lot of dads. Right? Can they come talk to you? Are you around? Are you literally there? You cannot play catch with your son if you're not home. Right? Every single time Beckett asked me to play catch, I can remember being a kid and asking my dad to play catch. I do not remember how many times we played catch. All I remember is asking him to play catch, and it felt like I asked him every single day, 20 times a day. I'm sure I didn't, but that's how much it meant to me. I still remember that. I remember that more than I remember most anything else. Is what was something you used to do with your dad? Play catch. So I don't care what I have going on. And I'm not saying that I drop everything to play catch because I don't. Sometimes I'm in the middle of something. Hey, I got to finish this up. I got to go do this. I got to go do something. But then there's always a time that we are going to do it. I can't do it right now, but if you go get the stuff together, I'll meet you out there in 30 minutes. Okay. He goes and gets the stuff. He's out there throwing the ball up, trying to hit it. But if he wants to work on something, if he wants to do something with me, I am doing everything I possibly can to be available. Now, obviously they know there are parameters around that. I've got a meeting. I've got to go to work. I've got to do this, especially now with summer. Hey, look, dad and mom got to still work. We're not on summer break. So, can we, after 5 or 5:30, or maybe if I'm at lunch or whatever, yeah, we can do it then. But I always want them to think that they can come to me and ask to do something together. Another great example of this is I am sitting inside of a studio, inside of a metal building that we built when we bought this property. This studio is fully set up. I've got a light there, filming on a camera here. I'm recording over here. I can see I've got more lights over there, more cameras, fully set up. When we went out of town last weekend, Aiden stayed here and watched the house. And he was in here. I set this whole thing up for him and his buddy to record music because Aiden is getting more into production and DJing. Him and his buddy were in this place all weekend long. This is a tool. This is a creative space, and he absolutely has access to it. When I got home on Monday, they were still here. I came over. They had questions about filming and recording, and they weren't sure about this and weren't sure about that. And I showed them how to do all of it because that is what I want. I want to help them do the things that they are trying to do because I always want them to have access to me, access to the things that I know, access to the resources I have. So how are you providing access to your kids, right? Can they come to you? Can they come to you and talk to you? Can they come to you and spend time with you? Absolutely something that is extremely important when we're talking about providing. Now, here's a big one that'll get a lot of people. Are you protecting them from your own ego? This is no more evident than watching parents of athletes, because if you want to see somebody who's trying to live vicariously through their kid, go watch a youth basketball game, maybe even at the YMCA. And you will hear parents yelling and screaming at their kids, the ref, other players, going absolutely nuts. You can see videos of parents at AAU games fighting each other, fighting refs. And this is very challenging. I remember when Carter first started playing soccer, that it was very challenging for me to understand where the line is between Am I helping him get better, or am I pushing him to do something that I think he can do because I was an athlete and I think it'd be cool if my kid was this or my kid was that? It was very, very challenging. And he was like 6 or 7 or 8. He was really good. Played travel. Before I know it, he's 7 or 8 years old, has practiced 4 nights a week, and he's got goalie practice and this and that, and it's insane, right? Now, it turned out that he had an issue with his feet and he couldn't play anymore because he had severs, etc. And then COVID, all these things happened. But when he first started playing, it was so easy to try to just attach myself to his success, right? That I had to break that because it wasn't healthy. Now, I think with the boys, what I'm focused on is their attitude and their effort. I'm not as focused on the score or the output. I'm more focused on the input, right? I think one of the biggest things that I did that helped, took myself out of the stands, and now I just record their games. So I'm observing them playing as almost like a neutral third party. Now, granted, I'm only filming not my kids, but their side of the court, typically on basketball, so not totally neutral, but I'm recording the game, right? I'm recording them with my camera. I'm following along on the baseline. I'm trying to catch plays. So I'm not around all the other parents that are yelling and screaming at the ref or yelling and screaming at each other. I'm not yelling and screaming at my kid to do anything, right? Because I'm too busy watching him. I'm literally watching him and recording. So I still know what happens, but I'm not telling him to go set a screen or, shoot more or score more. I hear some of these parents today, you go and tell their kid, you need to score more. You're not the coach, first of all. And all of that is your ego as the parent trying to push it onto the kid's performance so that you can feel better about yourself through how your kid plays. And that absolutely is not healthy, right? I think that this goes back to what we were talking about a little bit earlier about watching them struggle. This is also why I think some of these kids like team hop. They're just jumping around for different teams because they want their kid to be the star, or they want their kid to get more playing time, or this or that. It's just at a certain point, you can enable them to be successful, but you cannot force it, and you cannot want it more than yourself. What I try to do is set my kids up for success, whether it's helping Aiden set this place up so that he can record his sets and his mixes. But I can't force him or try to live vicariously through his success in music. All I can do is set up the stage for him to be successful. I can't try to force my opinion onto him about what he should or should not do with tattooing or with music production, because there's nothing that I think would be cooler than being able to DJ a huge music festival. That's awesome. And hopefully he gets there. And if he needs my help, I'll absolutely help him. But I cannot let my ego interfere with what these kids want to do. Because if Aiden stopped doing music, if Aiden stopped doing, tattooing, if Carter and Beckett stopped playing sports, if my entire relationship with them is wrapped up in those things, because I'm trying to take their success and feed my ego with it, what are we going to have when those things are gone? Right? I don't want to be in that situation. I want to have a well-rounded relationship with them where I'm helping them succeed. I'm helping them achieve their goals, whatever those might be. So absolutely, you will find your ego and how tied it is to your kid's success in the stands at their next game. So if you see yourself losing your mind about a foul called or a travel at a YMCA basketball game, you might just be a little bit too invested in the outcome, and you might just need to check that. So absolutely checking your ego and making sure that that is not leading either your decision making or your feedback back to your kids, right? Absolutely something you should have in check. Now, let's go back over to provide. Here's a good one. Provide language for emotion. This is hard, man. This is very hard. I'm not the best communicator when it comes to emotions. I've gotten a lot better since being married and having kids, mostly because it was such a struggle at the beginning. But absolutely being able to talk to your kids about whatever they have on their mind in a safe way that is non-judgmental is huge. It'll change your entire relationship. The best thing about practice is the drive there and the drive home. I remember with Aiden would practice like 45 minutes away in Pinellas County. It was maybe even an hour, and he would practice like on a Sunday. So it wasn't crazy. It was like the special training program. But we would have 45 minutes to an hour in the car both ways. So we're just talking about whatever. Right? And now with Carter's practice is also probably 45 minutes away. And man, we will talk about the craziest things. We'll talk about everything from girls to politics to life to parenting to driving to really anything that he has on his mind. He will sit in that front seat. Well, on the way there, he drives. On the way home, I drive. But on the way there, you know, we're literally just talking about anything. Right? The best thing that I probably did with them in terms of communication is I asked them, how do you want me to support you? Specifically with them, sports is a big thing right now. How do you want me to support you? How do you want me to show up? Right? Do you want me to try to, for Carter or Becca, do you want me to remind you, hey, this is what you said you should do, so maybe you need to go work out. Maybe you need to go train. Maybe we need to do this. Or do you not want me to do that? Do you want me to not say anything? I'm asking them how they want me to show up for them as a dad to help them achieve their goals. And that gives them space to tell me the truth. The other day we were driving back from training. Beckett trained with Uncle Andre and Jay and Kai. Beckett said, Dad, can you not do that? Do the thing that you were doing? I'm like, okay, well, what thing was that, buddy? And he's like, you know, like you kept telling me, like, I think I was saying find your rhythm or something like that. You kept telling me, like, find your rhythm, find your rhythm, find your rhythm. Can you just not do that? Sure. Absolutely. I will not do that. I thought I was being helpful, but if that's not helpful, I won't do it. But he feels safe to be able to tell me that, and he can tell me that, and I can receive it, and I don't get defensive. And I'm just trying to understand how these things compute in their heads so that I can show up for them the right way. Right? It is so easy to worry so much about what you want to say, what you want to do, your feedback, your thoughts, that you forget about theirs. So, you know, with Carter, I'm watching his entire practice. I sit there and watch the entire practice. But I'm not there to tell him what he should be doing better. I'm there so on the way home, if he wants to talk about anything. Oh, Dad, did you see that? Oh, Dad, did you see this? Oh, what do you think about that? What do you think about that? Did you hear what this person said? Did you hear what that person said? It's an open line of communication. Beckett will tell me about every single inappropriate video he sees on TikTok or YouTube or whatever the platform is. Oh, Dad, I was watching this one and it said this, and then it said this weird thing, so I hit, you know, not interested. Or that is great. I mean, thank you for telling me, and, you know, thank you for doing that. Right? He absolutely will tell me. He even will tell me if he has intrusive thoughts. Oh, Dad, I was really thinking about this, and do you think that's okay? Or, you know, do you ever have thoughts like this? Yeah, absolutely, buddy. But having a platform, a foundation for open lines of communication when it comes to emotions is huge, right? That is, as men, we don't do a good job. I can only speak for men. We don't typically do a good job, right? And that is something absolutely that if you can focus on that, if you can help your kids with that, I think that could be an absolute game changer. Now, on that same note, I mean, I think that also goes not just for your kids, but also, you know, for your significant other and your friends, right? Can you communicate with them? Can you tell them the things that you think, right? That is hard. It's very hard, especially if you get into some of these situations where maybe you haven't said something for a long time and you've got some stuff to say. Is, you know, getting to a place where you can do that. And I'm not saying you're going to feel comfortable, but you can express your thoughts and not just, you can provide a safe space for other people, but then also be able to communicate what you think. And that was really hard for me at the beginning of really our marriage and my time as a dad, is that I was really good at taking care of other people, but I wasn't that good at communicating the things that I might want or think or feel. And that was a struggle, and I had to work on that. Right. And that was very patient with me, and I'm better at it now, but you know, that is absolutely important. And it's something that gets glossed over, as, you know, you get so focused on, do they have the things that they need financially, that you forget about, do they have what they need emotionally? So I absolutely would focus on that. That's a big one. Now, this last one is, are you protecting their time and attention? And I kind of hit on this a little bit, but absolutely, are you helping them to prioritize, to create structure around how they're spending their time, right? The funniest thing is, you know, Beckett has his phone now, and every night he comes and he gives me a report on his screen time. And I don't ask him for that, but he does. He's like, well, Dad, you know, I think I was on YouTube a little bit too long today. And I mean, it's summer, so it's not quite the same, but we try to have a structure where it's okay. Well, let's try to do something in the morning. He's been on this streak with Duolingo, which is the funniest thing, because he always calls me. He says, hola, mijo, always. Like, oh, I just called you my son. I'm like, okay, that's funny, but I don't know why he does that. Or hola, hombre. So he's on this streak where every day he spends a little bit of time on Duolingo, right? And you know, they have time where they're supposed to be doing their chores. They have time where they're supposed to be going and playing basketball. It's a little different right now because Carter's injured, but they have time where they're supposed to be training, time where they're supposed to be playing basketball, obviously time to veg, you know, and just play games or whatever. They've been going in the pool. Like, they're doing all of these things. But going back to my earlier point about, hey guys, how do you want us to show up as your parents? Because we want to be able to support you. And if we don't think you're spending time correctly, we're going to say something. And we're going to try to put some structure in place. And we're also going to try to do the same things, right? It'd be very hypocritical if we're telling them to do all this stuff and we're just sitting around on the couch watching TV all day. But we're not, right? We're out there, we're doing stuff. We're working on the farm, we're working on the house, we're working our jobs. So trying to provide time and attention, or trying to provide some oversight to how they're spending their time is big. Carter absolutely will tell me, Dad, if you think I'm supposed to be doing something, can you please just come and tell me? Because he's 15, and to have the self-awareness is huge. You know, sometimes I'll just get stuck, and, you know, before I know it, I'm, you know, playing Roblox for 2 hours, and I just can't get myself out of it. So can you just come and tell me? Just come and tell me, get out of my room, or come watch a movie, or something. And I love that, because then he's given me permission to help him. And ultimately, as your kids get older, you got to try to find that balance between helping them and nagging them. And it's not as straightforward as one might think. And with Beckett, I mean, he's like, well, Dad, I mean, do you think we should go to the Mac today and train? Yes, I do. Let's go. Figure out when your cousins are going, right? Do you think I should work out? Do you think I should do this? Like, we're trying to be very intentional about how they spend their time. And it's not easy. There's nothing fun about going and telling your kid to turn off a game and go do the dishes, or turn off a game and go do this or go do that, but they're young and impressionable. And even as adults, it's hard to get away from your phone sometimes. So trying to be intentional about, hey guys, how are we spending our time today? How are we spending our time this week? How did we spend our time this month, especially over the summer, is huge. But it can also be challenging, right? So we'll sit down and we'll eat, no phones at the table, right? Unless you're eating a meal by yourself and you want to watch a YouTube video or whatever. But if we're all sitting down, put your phone away. We're talking about whatever we're talking about. And, you know, those are little things that we like to try to do. We sat down and we watched Captain America yesterday, the new one for, kind of like for Father's Day. Put your phones away. We're watching a movie, right? Let's go make some popcorn. Let's all sit around. Let's sit together. Let's do this, right? We're going in the pool. We're outside playing basketball. We're playing catch. We're working out. So trying to create structure around their time and attention is huge. Same thing when they're in school. Hey, we're checking in on how are your grades? How's school going? Is there anything you need to turn in? Anything you're struggling with, right? Like these are daily check-ins, and it'd be a lot easier to avoid that. But then you avoid it, and then you get a report card, and the report card's not great, and you're like, what happened? Well, what happened is you were asleep at the wheel and you weren't paying attention. And obviously they need to learn these lessons, some of these lessons on their own. But I think as a parent, also your job to try to create some structure and some parameters that they can operate within. Now, you can't save them, obviously, but you can try to educate them and inform them and guide them. Right? I don't think that there's any benefit to watching your kid crash and burn to try to, make them learn a lesson the hard way. If there's something you could do that could help direct them, right? There's a difference between directing them, providing structure and guidelines and boundaries, and saving them. And I think trying to find that balance is really important. So those are some things that I just wanted to touch on when we're talking about providing and we're talking about protecting. Overall, I think it's very easy to stay very superficial. Do they have the financial means? Are they safe? And those are very important, but I think those are also table stakes. Now, overall, this year I feel much better about the current state of where I'm at. It is fantastic and fulfilling to be able to take the things that I know when it comes to technology, creativity, content, media, etc., and be able to take those tools and use it to help the boys do what they're trying to do. Right? I think that is ultimately my goal, is to really help them achieve the things that they're trying to do. Now, I can't do it for them, obviously, but I can help them along the way. Right? Aiden is trying to do music production, trying to do tattooing. He has questions about marketing. He has questions about content. He has questions about videography. All of these things will help him achieve his goal. I'm not helping him on the music production side, but if you don't know how to set up a camera, I can certainly show you how to set up the camera. Right? Carter is in high school. Recruiting is huge. This slapped us right in the face. He had his first big tournament. He played great. And one of the director of the tournament came up to him and said, "Hey, I want to take your picture. Just tell me what your X handle is, and I'll tag you in it." Well, I don't have X. Well, there goes an opportunity. An opportunity to be featured by this tournament director at a major national tournament on a game that he played great at, and we missed that opportunity. Right? So we're not missing any opportunities like that. So I'm running his social media accounts for basketball specifically. He has basketball highlights for all of his games, right? We have training. We have all of these things. He will have more film than probably any kid or any one of his peers, because I have that skill set, and I can't help him become a better basketball player. I mean, he's already better than me, and he's taller than me. I'm pretty sure he's taller than me. Don't tell him I said that, but I'm pretty sure he's taller than me. But I can absolutely help him get his film out there. Right? I can absolutely help do that. With Beckett, the cutest thing is I'm recording his swing. Like week to week. And I showed him the other day, and he's like, "Oh my God, that is so cool." Right? He went from not really being able to hit to hitting the ball clear across the front yard. And we're talking weeks here. Weeks of going out there several times a week and working on it. And he can see his progress, right? I'm recording his games and posting them so he can see how far he's come. We have video of Carter 2 years ago playing at the YMCA. And just last week, he played in a national tournament against teams from other states. That's 2 years. And I think it's very easy for kids to lose sight of the progress that they're making. But if you capture that and you can show them where they were and where they are now, I think it helps them feel better about the progress that they're making, right? And as your kids get older, And if they're looking at recruiting, like that's super important. When we talk about Nat and the farm, like we now have a nonprofit and I helped her set that up. I am helping her do the things that she's interested in, right? Because, oh, you need to build something, I can build it, right? You need a website, I can make your website. Although I think she might remake it in Squarespace, which is pretty cool. Like she's learning how to do these things, which is fantastic. She's incredibly capable of doing so many of these things on her own, but I know enough about these areas to help her achieve her goals. Do I know about the biology of a pig or how to take care of piglets? Absolutely not. But if you need me to build you a structure for those pigs to live in, I can do it. Right? If we want to record, if we want to post videos, if we want to create content to help the social media of the farm and help it grow, absolutely. This hat, this logo, I designed it for the farm. The Shopify store where we sell the merch, I did that. And to have the ability, and this is the whole point of this podcast, Pursuit of Utility, to be useful. Are you useful? Right? Can you help yourself? Can you help the people that you care about? That's the goal. That's the whole goal. Right? Is be useful. And this year, more than any year, I feel like I've been able to be more useful in many areas, and it is an incredibly fulfilling feeling. Now, I don't know what the things are that you might be trying to do, or the areas that you might think you have gaps in, or some things that you might need to work on to maybe be a little bit more useful. But I absolutely think that you should. Right? There are resources out there where you can learn these things yourself. You can go to trade schools. You can watch YouTube videos. Most everything in this studio, I have not been trained on, but I learned how to do it. Trial and error. YouTube videos. Little by little by little by little. But you have to be willing to work and you have to make sacrifices. All right, so let's talk quickly about sacrifices. So there are absolutely sacrifices that I have made in order to have the knowledge base that I have across the various domains. And they come up often. One of which is pop culture. I absolutely never get any Friends references, The Office references, Lost references, Sopranos references, The Wire, House of Cards. I don't even know all the other big shows. I haven't watched any of them. I just don't watch a lot of TV. I also don't watch the news unless Nat has it on in bed before we go to sleep. When I go to the gym with Doug, I ask him what's going on in the world, and he tells me. And in 1 hour, I'm caught up with basically what's happening politically, economically. Other than that, I have no idea. Right? I spend my nights working on projects or editing footage or working around the farm or spending time with the kids. I am not consuming anything really. I am creating or I'm learning. And there is no future where I look back and say, well, you know what? If I would have watched all 1,000 episodes of The Sopranos or The Wire or whatever, my life would be that much better. Not having watched Breaking Bad, although I hear it's like one of the best shows ever, is not going to undermine my goals. So absolutely, that's a sacrifice, sure, right? But I think it's worthwhile. Now, when we're talking about sacrifices, there'll be people that are like, well, I can't pay to take my kids to private basketball training or group training or AAU or any of these things. Maybe that's true. But I see a lot of the same people that are saying that also driving around in vehicles that probably have $750 a month payments. And I look at my truck's 360,000 miles on it. Great truck. Love that truck. 2005 Duramax 2500. Highly recommend. That's the truck that we use around the farm, right? That same truck, brand new, is probably $80,000. Been paid off for a long time. The Jeep, 2008. Bought that thing stock, did all the work. Me and Pops got it fixed up. That's also paid off for 5 or 6 years. Now, and then we have the Lexus, 2004, 300,000 miles on it. I'm pretty sure these cars could almost be classics, right? Also, no car payments. That money that could be going to a car payment instead can go towards basketball training. It can go towards building something like this studio. I don't need a 2025 Chevy Duramax 2500. What I need is to be able to take my kids and provide opportunities for them, like to go to the Nike basketball camp that Beckett is going to when we come back from vacation. That is how I want to spend my money. I don't want to make a $500 car payment. I want to pay for a $500 camp, because the ROI on that camp is so much greater than whatever the feeling is in driving in a car that has air conditioned seats. Although that sounds lovely, that does not matter to me at all. Now we're talking about where we live. I mentioned the farm. Our old house was like 3,500 square feet. It had, I want to say, 5 bedrooms, depending on if you count the office. So either 5 bedrooms and an office and 3.5 bathrooms. Beautiful neighborhood. No space, no land, no backyard. The front yard was a huge hill. No utility in that property at all, except it was really, really cool and really big. So when Aiden graduated from high school, we made a decision. We sold it. And we wanted to find space. So we were able to find an older farmhouse. We were able to buy it, 7 acres. We fixed up the house. And it's small. It's much small. I mean, it's not small, but old house was 3,400. I think this house is 2,200 square feet. Technically 3 bedrooms, 1 office, 2 bathrooms. So we basically got rid of 1,000 to 1,200 square feet in the house. Not as much space on the inside. So much more space on the outside, though. I can play long toss with Beckett in the front yard. The first project we did was extend the driveway to pour a half court basketball area that I have painted and lined out. We sacrificed on the space inside to gain the utility of the space outside. Because if Beckett wants to go play catch, we can go play catch in the front yard. If Beckett wants to hit, I can throw pitches to him in the front yard. If they want to play basketball, we can go outside and play in our front yard. That is a sacrifice to some people. Some people want the 3,500 square feet. I want this more than I wanted 3,500 square feet. I'll take 2 bathrooms. I'll take a smaller house. Right? I'll take a little bit further commute if it means that my kids can spend their time doing the things that they want to be able to do that would otherwise never be possible where we lived before. I am sitting in the studio inside of a metal building that we built on this property that people can come to. Aiden can come here with his friends and record right here. Right? That opportunity is available to him that never would have been possible before. So some people will consider that a sacrifice. Some people would never do that. They absolutely need the space. They need the second living room. It was cool to have, we had like a living room, and then they had like another living room where we had video games, and then we had like a sitting room next to our kitchen. It was cool, but I wouldn't trade it. Right? This property is really a compound. It has utility. We're now able to do the farm. Nat can do the nonprofit. Some people will look at that like you gave up this like luxurious house and space and all this, and you traded it in for more of like a country life. We absolutely did. Absolutely. Some people wouldn't do that. But to me, it is absolutely worth it to be able to provide the opportunity for the boys, right? Because now I have the ability to go outside and play basketball with them. Now, some people say, well, I can't afford to pour the half court. Maybe not, but maybe it's because all your money is going to a fancy car payment. I don't know. And I'm not here to judge. I'm just saying that could be the case. I can't afford an in-ground hoop. Neither could we. It took us several years. I bought it for Christmas. We just put it up. It's roughly $2,000. That's 2 months car payment for some people. Can't afford private basketball training. You can do group training at the Mac for right around $150, 6 to 8 sessions. Right? That is a fancy dinner. I know people that have more money invested in their bourbon collection than they've spent on lessons for their kids and any of the things that their kids might be interested in. Right? I know people that spend $500 to $1,000 at dinners and then say that they don't have the money to invest in, maybe something that their kid wants to do. Maybe their kid wants to be a streamer, and in order to be a streamer, they need a new PC that can stream. Well, we can't afford that, but we can afford to go spend $300-$400 at Outback for dinner. I'm not judging anyone. You can spend your money however you want. But if this is important, if it is important to help your kids develop, if it is important to help your family develop, your family flourish, you have to make sacrifices somewhere. And to me, I will absolutely drive around in a truck whose back windows don't work if it means that in that vehicle, I have a child that I am taking to a trainer who's going to help them get better for an hour. Because once they're at that trainer, they don't remember what vehicle got them there. And on the way home, all they want to do is go to the gas station and get a Gatorade. They don't really care about the vehicle that got them there. So to me, those are sacrifices well made. Not watching any of those TV shows, I could care less. Not being current with the news, don't care. Not having the latest and greatest vehicles, also don't care. Having a smaller house, don't care. What is the most important thing to me is being in a situation where I can provide opportunities for my kids to reach their goals and my wife to do the things that she wants to do, and for me to be able to pursue the goals that I have. And all of those things have meshed together, and it's the greatest feeling. So if you're out there and you're trying to be a little bit more useful, hopefully this podcast helped you. Hopefully it helped you understand when you're thinking about providing and protecting for your kids, how are you thinking about that? When you're also thinking about prioritizing your financial situation to align with maybe some of the goals that your kids have or that your family has, how are you spending your time? And just be honest with yourself, right? Goes back to the ego comment. Like, is your ego driving how you're spending your money, or are you doing it based on the highest output? There's no greater investment that I'm making right now than in my family. The best text message that I got yesterday said, your investment in your family shows. And that's the goal, right? So hopefully you enjoyed this podcast. Happy Father's Day to all the dads out there. It's not an easy job, but it's the most rewarding one that I have. So until next time, Pursuit of Utility Podcast, helping you regain agency in your life. Until next time, see ya.